Hey, I am live on the air. I don't know if this is working or not. My hard drive on my computer has died, except for this partition, which may die at any minute, I suppose. And I'm hoping that the microphone's working. So I think I'm going to double dip, so to speak, and take a look at my own video. I'm going to turn on the volume for a second. See if I can hear myself. I don't know if this is working or not. Okay, the microphone is working. I have one viewer, which is me, but maybe I'll have other people. I'll check the comments when I can. But my main purpose here is just to show my haul from yesterday. Yesterday was Friday, right? As my life is crazy, and I really shouldn't have gone shopping for comics, but I did. And I'm going to show you guys what I got. I'll start with the less exciting stuff, I guess. The stuff that I got from a 50-cent bin that for the Black Friday was became a 25-cent bin. So I thought, it's almost like getting comics for free, right? Might as well grab some. Ended up grabbing about 50. Let's see. Probably the ordering here is not going to be great. They were in order at one point. I see that I have two other viewers, so I don't know if you guys are people I know. Hi, leave a comment if you want. So let's see, how is this? Yeah, that's in the middle of that. So of course, the psychology of picking up comics when they're only 25 cents is very different than the psychology other times. Everything here on my desk is crazy. That's just water I'm drinking. I can't even get to Twitter from this partition because I don't remember my password to Twitter. Come on, comic books. Okay, so I already got some issues of this series, the Incal, which is they do list Mobius at the end, but it's basically Jodorowsky and another artist continuing the story of the Incal, or maybe it's a prequel. I'm not sure. So to me, the coloring leaves a lot to be desired, but the art looks pretty good. And presumably with Jodorowsky doing the writer for the original Incal, it should be pretty good. So that's issue 4 and issue 5. It's a little like Princess Leia there to me somehow. Issue 7. I already had issue 6. I had issue 1, 2, 3, and 6. And yeah, so I got 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8. That's in a totally different art style. Is the art on the inside the same? Yeah, the art on the inside is still pseudo Mobius artwork. So that was 8. So I'm missing issue 9, and that's issue 10, and that is issue 11. And I think there's a 12th issue that finishes it out. So I'm still missing 2 issues, but they shouldn't be, I don't know. They shouldn't be too expensive. They might be a little hard to find, but eventually I will find them, or just read them missing a few issues. Back in the old days, we didn't expect to read all the issues. Back in the old days when things were tough, kids were tough, and comics were tough. Okay, I got a sort of. I'm a huge Barry Windsor Smith fan, and I bought Rune from Ultraverse when it first came out, drawn, but not, I don't think written by Barry Windsor Smith, although he was doing a lot of his own writing by this period. But I remember liking the art and thinking the story had potential, but it never seemed to get going. But anyway, I decided to re-pick it up because I had it years ago and let it go. So I had found issue 1 and 2. And then issue 7, issue 8, and issue 9. Oops, can't see them very well. I believe there's some pretty good Barry Windsor Smith art in here. Maybe not, his very peak work, but cool stuff. But why don't I crack one open? I got all the time in the world here, unless my computer crashes. So there's issue 1. This guy having the night sweats, probably because he's under the spell of the vampire. Yeah, it was pretty cool art. It was pretty good coloring for the day. If I remember correctly, Marvel eventually bought Ultraverse, the company, mostly for its, or is it owned by Malibu Comics? So maybe I got this confused. Maybe it was someone else they bought. They bought one of these smaller companies basically for their coloring department, which is probably funny now since colors are all freelance. But I wonder if this one by issue 9, it's a cover by Barry Smith, but I wonder if it's still his art on the inside. Boy, that feels thin. Where's the credits? No, the art is by someone named Keith Conroy. It's a little bit Barry Smithish. Boy, the paper feels flimsy thin on this thing. The art's not nearly as good as Barry Windsor Smith. But, if I can eventually scrape it all up for 25 cents or 50 cents, 50 cents is usually what I consider a bargain. I'll get some more. And I think somewhere in this stack I actually have some related Rune comics that are, well, related to Jodorowsky, another Jodorowsky comic book, The Meta Barons, which normally one would get in trades, hardback trades. So, in fact, this art has the look of something that's been shrunken down. So maybe it's not good to get these this way. Still, for 25 cents, pretty cool. The reason I think it's shrunken down is that the proportions weren't right for the regular comic book page, and that's why you get these large borders. I could be wrong, but it would make sense if they were from a French album first. I don't know. Maybe this will be a one-off for me, and it'll make me decide to hunt down the hardbacks, or maybe I'll hunt down more of the comics. And then this was kind of a cool find because I had been thinking about getting these books in the hardback, and in the end I decided not to, and now I'm kind of glad that I found them in the original floppies, which is Martial Law, the kind of super over-the-top, maybe 2000 AD style comic book that came out from Epic, making fun of superheroes back in the late 80s. So that was Martial Law #1. They're all out of order here, but I think I got most of them. I thought I had #2, but here's #3. And 4. 5. So I guess I'm just missing issue 2. And 6. His artwork by Pat Mills, which I always remember being really cool. I sort of thought the writing, the spoof on superheroes, I remember when I read it at the time, I thought the spoof on superheroes themselves was pretty easy to do. Just take an underground comics attitude and apply it to superheroes and make them out to be fascists and awful creatures. But maybe I'll have a different take on it when I read it now. So anyway, that was a really cool find for me. Yikes. Getting through 50 comics. I may have to speed things up. I found some Ragman, which I don't really know much about. Was the original Ragman, was that Steve Ditko? I'm not even sure. But these are, this one doesn't list the artist on the cover, but I think these are from 2 different Ragman series. So this is maybe Ragman Volume 2, and this is some miniseries, Ragman Cry of the Dead. And I got 2 issues of Cry of the Dead, issue 1 and issue 4, with great Joe Kubert covers. And the interior art kind of has a Joe Kubert vibe to it, although it is not Joe Kubert during the interior art. It is, come on, Gabriel Morissette. I haven't heard of him before. So this might be fun to read. I don't know. Somehow I feel like I've read somewhere that Ragman is a Jewish superhero, whatever that means. Maybe it comes out of something coming out of Jewish legends or whatever. This is a really weird cover for number 5 in a special Raven series that was written by Marv Wolfman. I had no idea of its existence before, so I thought I'd take a look at it. It's issue 5, which is the last issue, but whatever. Picked up some of these Millennium, which was a big crossover event led by Steve Englehart, I believe. And I think I have 1 or 2 of these other issues of Millennium. I'll probably read it when I someday get the whole series. I'm not sure. I've got week 7 and week 4. I'm not sure how many weeks it went to. I know it crossed over to some other comics because I've seen the Millennium emblazoned on some of the other comics I've got. Okay, and then they had a lot of this series, which I have not dipped into before, even though I collect most of DC's post Jack Kirby books, like New Gods or The Demon or whatever. So I had not dipped into the post Jack Kirby Mr. Miracle, but there was a whole bunch of them there. Again, it was so cheap, and I am curious about them. So let's see. There's a piece of tape in the way. No, there's no data. Oh yeah, March 1989. So I was not, by 1989, I was not reading very many superhero comics. So I guess I probably didn't even notice these were on the stand at the time. And also at the time, I did not like J.M. DeMatteis as a writer. So if I did see them, I'd probably skip them. I'm trying to remember what I was doing in 1989, but I feel like about the late 80s, I stopped reading the comics really slowed down for me for a while. No, that's not right. That's not right. Time is a confusing mess. Anyway, I was not aware of these at the time they came out. There's issue 4. It doesn't say who it. I assume it's still by J.M. DeMatteis. That's kind of a cool cover. And then I skip ahead to issue 9. This seems like a DeMatteis spoof, but I think it's actually by Len Wein, judging by the cover of issue 10, which says it is by Len Wein. So they've made up some joke hero named Maxi-Man. He's strong, he's brave, he's peculiar, and he wants Mr. Miracle's job. Introducing Maxi-Man. So this makes me uneasy that they've made Mr. Miracle into a jokey character, which I've seen in some of the Justice League International, which were also written by J.M. DeMatteis. That he and Big Barter were kind of a joke. So there's more Maxi-Man, and here it says it's written by Len Wein. But then I'm a little more hopeful because Doug Moench took over the writing, and I often like his writing quite a bit. Oh boy, that's a beat up bag. So that's an interesting cover. The artist's son here I've never heard of. So perhaps at some point I'll get to read these and report to you on what this latter day Mr. Miracle is like. That's kind of a cool cover too. So it looks like Moench had a long run on it. So I'm seeing his name. Oh, back to Len Wein. Oh no, this is issue 11. So these are out of order. I apologize. Everything's chaos here. So back to the Len Wein part of the run. Never a good sign when Lobo shows up, in my opinion. I guess he was their fallback fun villain back then, but not fun to me. Here's Moench issue number 14. Here's a cool cover, although it implies a humorous, get me out of here, and he's in the middle of a maze with 4 bad guys closing in on him. issue 16. That almost looks like a Marshall Rogers cover to me, but I don't know if it is. The artist on the interior certainly isn't. I don't know why issue 19 says he's back. Issue 21, them driving out of the boom tube. So it looks like zany adventures of Mr. Miracle, and that's certainly not the direction I would have gone with the character, given that he is the son of New Genesis, who was sent to the hell of Apocalypse in an attempt to make a swapping of children in an attempt to make peace between the two worlds, which is something that medieval kings used to do. So I always thought that was interesting, an interesting plot gimmick of Jack Kirby's. It's getting hot up here, or I'm feeling the pressure. No comments, 2 viewers, I guess. I am not the master of live shows, so I guess it's not surprising I'm not getting comments. This was kind of a fun find for 25 cents a piece. A mini-series called King Conan Wolves Beyond the Border, written by Timothy Truman, art by Giorello, and colors by Villarubia. So I think I got the entire run of this. That's kind of gives you a sample of the artwork on the inside. I guess this gray-haired, bearded guy is King Conan. So, whoops, that's an ad. So yeah, this is a perfect. This would be a perfect Sunday afternoon read for me. Just escape into the world of Conan for 4 issues. Wolves Beyond the Border, I think, was a Robert E. Howard story. I think I read it as a kid. You know, the prose story. So that's pretty fun. I also grabbed this. I have several other issues of this. It's called Adam 3, but it's hard to even read that logo and tell that it says Adam Point 3. But the cool thing about it is that it's done, what would you call it, sideways or in a CinemaScope or something. So when I find it in the cheap bins, I pick it up. I've only read the first issue and it was okay, but just the idea of it appeals to me. I think it's a miniseries that is done now. It was written and drawn by Scott Collins, who's a good artist, but somehow I didn't get into his art here that much. And then another fun set of finds was 3 different Lobster Johnston one-shots. A chain forged in life, Class Mantis. So these are part of the Mignolaverse, from the pages of Hellboy, as they say. And this Lobster Johnson character they usually do one-shots for. Lobster Johnson, the Forgotten Man. So that's cool. One-shots are great. I enjoy the Mignolaverse. Then it just goes on and on here. Oh, here's more of those runes. But this is some other rune series called Curse of Rune, which I never saw, with art by someone named Holtz. This feels like it was put in a bag in 1990 and never taken out, or whenever it was printed, probably 92, 93. And this is Giant Size Rune, which I think is art by Barry Windsor Smith also. I feel like I remember having this back in the 90s. And then I just got some random issues of Star Slayer, which was a Mike Grell creation, written and drawn for a few issues, and then other people took it over. I think John Ostrander did a lot of the writing on it. This issue might be one I already have, because it's, I think, the first appearance of Grimjack, and but I grabbed it just in case I didn't already have it. Some more Star Slayer. It seems sad to me that Mike Grell didn't stay on it, but hopefully he was busy doing other good stuff. Okay, so that's everything that I got out of the 25-cent bin at at my local comic book shop. And then at the same shop, I grabbed a few non 50-cent bin ones, and they were all 50% off. So if you see a price, it was 50% off. And then I went, so that was the shop near my house called Cloud9. And then I also went to Cosmic Monkey, and they also had a 50% off sale. So you're going to see here a mix of stuff I bought at Cosmic Monkey and at Cloud9. Both of them, for me, seem to have their regular prices on their back issues are way too high, and it's only when they charge 50% off that the prices become either reasonable or occasionally an actual deal, but usually just reasonable at that point. So mostly I focused on the House of Secrets and the House of Mystery. So which are, the old DC anthology horror spooky story kind of twist, stories with a twist, sometimes Twilight Zone-ish, sometimes more like an old DC comic. But in much gentler and less violent because it was all under the Comics Code Authority. So there's House of Secrets, number 148. These may be a little bit out of order. And then here's House of Secrets number 138. It gives me pleasure to build up these issues and have them around to read when I just want to read something that's 8 pages long or something that's really great. Now I think all the rest are House of Mystery, but probably maybe in descending order. House of Mystery 288. We got kind of a Pied Piper playing on a bone pipe. What does it say? The Piper at the Gates of Hell. And it kind of looks like a Michael Kaluta cover. One of the features of the House of Mystery and House of Secrets is their great covers, and I did not buy the ones with Neil Adams covers and the like this time. Although here's a Joe Kubert cover because I was looking for the cheaper ones. And what's the guy saying? That's odd. I could have sworn I heard something moving in there. And it's the mummy grabbing his beautiful girlfriend. House of Mystery 280. 3 Fearsome Tales. I can't immediately tell who that cover's by. Within these pages dwell creatures from the terrifying beyond. 3 fearful tales that will hold you spellbound. If anyone's out there, if this is working and you want to leave me a comment and say hi, that would be great. Just to know if anyone's there. Okay, the House of Mystery 266. Take this mystic sword, mortal, and then you will never die in battle. Demon Blade. That sounds pretty cool to me. Always good to have a deal with the devil and some sword play. Last Tango in Hell. That's House of Mystery 232. I need to buy a whole bunch of Mylar because I want to make all of my older comics look nice. This is some 100-page spectacular, but it's part of the regular run of House of Mystery. It's House of Mystery 224. I assume that because it's one of these 100-pagers, it'll be all reprints, but that doesn't make much difference to me as a reader, unless they end up reprints of all the ones I already own. But I doubt that's likely to be the case. And worst, I paid $5 for this, so that's fine. Ooh, I really like this cover. This probably is Neil Adams. Huh. Oh, but it's kind of, it's got some stuff scuffed up in the title there. That's why I got, because I was only getting stuff that would have cost me $5 or less. So $10 sticker price or less. But it looks like some kids watching the devil perform a rite at an altar, and it looks like a nice Neil Adams drawing. With these House of Mysteries had very different colors on the cover than most comics in the late 70s or early 80s, or early 70s. Here we're on the early 70s. House of Mystery 198. I mean, look at the color there. That's a very unusual coloring for a comic book of 1971 or 72 period. It's the Day of the Demon and Mordok Lives. Okay, now they're out of order again. They were descending nicely for a while, but anyway, this is probably from the mid-70s. Do you dare enter the House of Mystery? There's no other. Oh wait, up here. Today, the force of evil assembles to choose a new queen. I wonder why they. Maybe this is in better condition. It's not a famous artist on the cover, I don't think. Why they charged my peak price here of $10 on this one. $5 for me. Oh, this is a nice cover, but I also can't identify it. Celebrate with the Carnival of the Balloon Vendor. Carnival of Fear with the Balloon Vendor, I think. All new chills. It looks, one would think maybe this guy has kidnapped a child in there. I'm not sure. It's a feeling of a child looking in on the world of horror, horrifying adult things in a way. A lot of looking through doorways and stuff. Hey, Tony, why not art? You're here. Great. Yeah, the Kubrick covers are great. Tony says he did some Black Friday shopping himself at the Joe Koch warehouse, where he found some cool stuff. Joe Koch warehouse. Boy, would I like to visit that someday. And Tim Hellermouse, you're watching. Great. So two of my favorite YouTubers watching. So I'm feeling awesome. So yeah, that is the last of my House of Mystery that I got today, which is an old man opening a book that's called Witchcraft, and it looks like the ghost of a witch comes out. I don't know. Maybe I over-theorize about these things, but I feel like there is kind of the horror of age for children to look on old age. I feel some horror of age myself anyway. Okay, then in a totally different vein, I got two Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane. For some reason, I have this strong craving to get these, to get some of these. I've never read any Lois Lane comics. So I paid a bit higher price than I would have liked to, because I was trying to limit myself to, at the most, $5 a comic. So this one I must have paid $7 for. But I said, what the hell, I want them. I'm going to get them. So there's some new superhero out here, the Ideal Man, that Lois and Lana are playing cards for. Lois Lane's Super Gamble. I think all the Lois Lane covers are Lois fighting some other woman for Superman's affections. Here she is fighting the Wonder Woman of the day. I think this must be the depowered Wonder Woman. For Superman. Superman saying, haha, great show, Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman saying, I'm tossing you out of Superman's life, Lois. He's marrying me. Now, why kids of the day would want to read stories about a woman constantly being rejected by the perfect man, I don't know. Because presumably these were read by kids. That was most of what the DC market was, but it seems more like these would be aimed at the anxieties of an older teenage girl or the like. I don't know. I don't even know who had those particular anxieties. Thanks for the nice words, Tim and Hallermouse. And Why Not Arts asking Tim how his Thanksgiving was. My Thanksgiving was, I would call it interesting. I hope Tim's was good. So, and then this is kind of a odd thing. I'm not sure what it's going to be like on the inside. Quack, which came out during the Howard the Duck craze, I believe, and it was adult ground level or underground comics with that anthropomorphic animal Howard the Duck kind of thing going on in them. I'm going to crack one open and take a look. Definitely looks like an underground comic on the inside. An underground comic crossed with Looney Tunes. The Beavers. Home on the Range Rabbit. I don't know. I don't know whether I'll just, if I read these, I'll just find them totally dated and stupid, or whether there'll actually be some cool stuff in here. This one is done vertically. I thought there was some pretty big name artists in here, but I can't tell from that one. This other one mentions Sergio Aragonés and Steve Leialoha, or however you pronounce that name. It's okay, Tony. I didn't expect you to ask me how my Thanksgiving was. I hope yours was a good one, Tony. So, you guys, Howler and Tim and Tony might be familiar with this. This one was particularly the one I wanted because of it mentioning Sergio and Steve Leialoha. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I remember liking him as an artist in the 70s quite a bit. I can't tell which one is theirs. Probably that. So cool. Something more to explore. And then I've been wanting to own some more, and I used to own them ages ago, some more Herb Trimp Hulk. And this I remember as a favorite issue. And it's a great cover by Trimp and Severin. So I grabbed this Hulk. And this one, 171, where he's fighting the Rhino and the Abomination. I know I had both of these comics as a kid. So here I am buying them again for way more money. I look forward to cracking those open. And then the other thing I've been doing lately is trying to gather up the black and white magazines when I can. But the prices at this Cosmic Monkey for the old Marvel black and white magazines are incredible. Like all the number ones he charges $79 for them, like Savage Sword of Conan or Planet of the Apes #1 or Deadly Hands of Kung Fu #1. But so I found a few issues at prices that I was willing to pay the $10 price, i.e. the $5 price. So I got 2 issues of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. This one is issue 6. Can't say I love the color scheme on that cover. And then one with Shang-Chi on the cover, issue 5. That's a better cover. Still not knocking my socks off. I guess I'm spoiled by that first 2 covers, I think, of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, which were Neil Adams covers. And then I picked up a few Dracula Lives, which it's Ed and Nick One. Nick down in Florida has been talking a lot about Dracula Lives, and Tomb of Dracula has gotten me searching for them. So I haven't cracked these open to see who the artists are on the inside yet. That's kind of an interesting cover with a woman coming out of her dress a bit. Seems like I have that on another cover too. Oh yeah, it's coming up. And then I got the Tomb of Dracula. There's another woman like just totally coming out of her dress there. Good for us boys, bad for her. Bit chilly. So this is Tomb of Dracula #3. And then Tomb of Dracula #6, special last issue. So Tomb of Dracula didn't last very long, but then they went back to the Dracula Well in black and white issues with Dracula Lives, which I think lasted about 13 issues, 12 issues. I have the last issue. So, yeah, I was excited to find all of those. And then I was also excited to find this. This is the last one. Nope. No. I'll show you this before I show what I said was. I also got Epic Illustrated #2. For #1, they wanted $79, but for #2, $10, so $5 for me. And it's got this great Richard Corbin cover. How did I let this go? Where I don't even know where I let it go, because I owned this back in. I remember buying this off the rack in 1980. And being very excited to find more Richard Corbin at that time. Tony says, yes, Deadly Hands. I know Tony is our Kung Fu guy. He also has almost completed his run of Dracula Lives. And he has completed the run of Tomb of Dracula, which is 6 issues. And Tim mentions that Epic was outstanding, and it was. And I think one of the great things about Epic was, yes, it was inspired by heavy metal, but it didn't hurt that it had a more American storytelling vibe going on there, so that the stories felt at times a little more full and complete, and more exploring more linear stories in a way. And I liked and appreciated that. I mean, I love heavy metal, but I liked having Epic illustrated too. Tony says that Quack went up to 6 issues, and one of the issues had some early art by Dave Sim. Yeah, I noticed that. I don't even know. They had like 5 Quack issues there, and I was picking out so many comics, I decided I had to limit myself to 2. But I noticed Dave Sim's name on one of the covers, but I didn't realize that was early work by him. So that's interesting. So my final find was, which I've never seen before, this album in English of Young Blueberry by, art by Mobius. Although they put Mobius on the cover, at the time he was doing it, he was Jean Girard. And it doesn't really look obviously like Mobius artwork. It looks a little more like typical artwork you might find in one of these Westerns done by Europeans. It looks very good. It has very good color. And there's a thing in the back where he says that this was the kind of, in this afterword, this was the beginning of his Mobius style. Like, he hadn't become Mobius yet. He hadn't taken on the name Mobius yet at this point. And he started playing with using thinner pen lines rather than brush lines with this this version of Blueberry. But then he couldn't resist, and he went back in and added in brush lines afterwards. So if you look at Mobius, it's the Mobius we know. It's lots of fine lines, not the thick, brushy kind of lines. I hadn't thought about that till reading this afterward. So, and I guess this was part, I think they were planning to put out 3 of these albums in English. I don't know if they did all 3. They're out there somewhere. It's just rare to find these English reprints of Mobius, and they're now Dark Horse is now reprinting a lot of Mobius, but I don't know if they're planning to do the pre-Mobius Jean Girard. So I was pretty psyched to find this. So Tony goes on to say, Quack went up to, oh no, I read that already. Weinart says, I love John Byrne's Galactus story in Epic. And Tim says, I was actually devastated when Epic was canceled. I found the rest of the Galactus story online a few years ago. And Tony says he needs to check that out, and I need to check that out too. I remember the Galactus story. I didn't realize it never finished because maybe I was not paying attention when Epic was canceled. But I definitely loved Epic while it was coming out. And maybe by the time Epic was coming out, heavy metal was already getting a little less, its peak stuff was in the 70s, but maybe the early 80s too. I don't know. But anyway, Epic was an exciting thing, and we really haven't seen a magazine like that since. but with the wide mix of stories it had, in the sense of fine art that it brought to American comics. Okay, guys, I think I've covered everything I plan to cover, and I need to. Yeah, I picked up a lot of stuff. Well, I'm glad you think it's nice stuff too. I certainly did, but as always, I went a bit overboard. But anyway, I think I'll call this hangout to an end. Thanks so much to Tim and Tony. If any of you, for some reason, do not subscribe to Why Not Art and to Howler Mouse, you definitely should. Otherwise, you're missing out. So I will talk to you all again very soon.